Good evening, everyone. This is Michael Romali here with the Hurricane Outlook and discussion for August 31st, 2019, recorded around 11:11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hurricane Dorian is still an extremely dangerous Category 4 hurricane. Should be a Category 5, but the National Hurricane Center has kept it at 150 for this advisory package. The overall guidance has not really changed much. The overall track forecast has not really changed that much. However, a little bit more slowing down within this period, and models have continued to show a further western solution, getting closer to Florida. We'll have to kind of keep an eye on that and see exactly what happens. Currently, there are no additional watches out for portions of the Florida or the Florida East Coast, but you can see here, we can really just read this here. And the storm is still moving directly at 8 miles an hour. And this is a problem because Dorian, if you remember yesterday, by this time yesterday, Dorian was expected to stall and begin its northward journey by tomorrow. That isn't what's happening now. It's still moving due west at 8 miles an hour, at 7 knots. The ridge of high pressure is stronger, and I think in the 0Z model guidance that we'll start initializing soon, that will be processed, that this is a stronger ridge and further west. That's just what I believe, because most of the models today have continued to show that westerly trend. Which you can also see, the 18Z GFS has also shifted a little left closer to the Florida coast. The latest multi-model consensus age shifted west closer to the previous National Hurricane Center track. So very little change to the forecast was made, although the exact National Hurricane Center forecast lies east of the Florida Peninsula, a track, and this is important, a track closer to the coast or even a landfall remain possibility. And since the updated track was slightly slower, no additional watches are needed for Florida at this current time. And you can see tomorrow, interest elsewhere in southern and central Florida should continue to monitor the progress of Dorian. Additional watches may be required for portions on Sunday for portions of the Florida coast. So really what's going to be happening is we're going to be watching exactly when Dorian makes this turn, and more throughout the day today, we've become a little further confident that this will come back closer to the Florida Panhandle, or the Florida Peninsula, and for that reason there is still a decently high chance of seeing tropical storm force winds well inland into Florida. Right now, again, the track forecast has not really changed, but I do suspect we will start to see changes roll in tomorrow morning, and throughout the day tomorrow, I think we'll start to see some changes on that start to kick in. You can see, while we're waiting on that, you can see the IR presentation loop, very impressive Category 4, almost nearly a Category 5 hurricane officially, heading for the Bahamas. And here's near Andrews Island over here, and this is continuing to chug along towards the west. It's barely gained any latitude today. It might be starting to take a little bit of a jog a little bit to the north, but the overall westerly trend is going to continue, and the closer and longer it takes for Dorian to slow down, the longer it takes for Dorian to slow down and then eventually make that turn is going to be very key. The latest HORF model actually brings it in here, installs it along the coast, and then brings it up to Cape Canaveral on a landfall. Everything is still possible, and even the Hurricane Center did explicitly say a landfall in Florida is still possible. It is still a little too early to determine exactly where at this point, again, or even if it will. There is a lot of uncertainty heading into the overnight hours regarding Hurricane Dorian. The recon passes however, do show that maximum sustained winds should be right near 160, so not necessarily sure why the National Hurricane Center has not updated and reflected from a recon, but you know, regardless, it's still a major Category 4 hurricane. Whether it is a Category 5 or not, it really doesn't matter. The impacts will be devastating to portions of the Bahamas. Portions out here in the Bahamas, I know Josh Morganman is down here somewhere along here covering Dorian. This is going to be a significant, life-threatening, catastrophic event for portions of the Bahamas, the northern Bahamas here. And the further, again, this takes to slow down, the further west it gets before slowing down and making that turn is going to be very crucial. And it's still moving at 8 miles an hour to the west. That is a little bit concerning given the fact that by this time, last night by this time, this was already supposed to be kind of stalling out through this area and then beginning its turn to the north like that. So we're keeping a very wary eye on that situation. Taking a look at the 18Z GFS model, we kind of went over this earlier, but the 18Z GFS, just kind of want to bring that back up before we kind of sign off for tonight. Again, the 18Z GFS has continued to shift a little further to the west, and we'll be continuing to monitor that overall pattern. I actually want to show the HORF model for Dorian. This is the HORF model at 48 hours out, and within 2 days it is right here and near Category 5, if not at Category 5 intensity. And you can see the rain bands. We'll actually use a different color here. You can see the rain bands of Dorian are onshore with that tropical storm force winds and those 60-mile-per-hour winds onshore into Florida. And by about 72 hours, this thing, basically the core, is nearing the Cape Canaveral region, and hurricane force winds will be over that area if the HORF model comes to fruition. So a lot to watch on when the stall and the turn towards the north happens. It could still turn far enough north to spare most of the eastern side of Florida, or it could turn a little bit further towards the west like the HORF model was showing, and potentially give Florida a run for its money. So we're really going to have to be watching Dorian, and we will continue to do that. I will have another video outlook and another video update tomorrow morning, roughly by the 8 o'clock intermittent advisory, the 8 a.m. intermittent advisory. Hope you all have a safe rest of your night, and I will be back tomorrow morning. Have a good night.